fans.
Let's go.
G'day guys, this is Frank. Welcome to G'day Design Life. This is a podcast. Starting up a podcast, something I've not done here with G'day Design Life, but I'm going to start one called Two Red Chairs. Obviously, you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, we're sitting in two red chairs. I'll introduce you to the man next to me first in a second, but Two Red Chairs is about interviewing, chatting with designers from Australia and abroad to see what we can come up with, learn some new things, and do it in a way that's a bit more of a long-form bit of content rather than me just splashing out Instagram carousel content, which, to be honest, I think we're all a bit over. But we're going to chat today with Shane. Shane is an awesome Aussie designer. He's from Sydney as well. I got him in here for the first one because he's just a top bloke. And we'll get into the story of how we met, but we'll get to that in a sec, though, because it's a good one.
It is a good one.
But Shane here has his own design business. It's called Aspect Brands. He basically, I think, calls it branding and brand implementation, yeah?
Correct.
Which is, I think, a fancy way of saying you help brands with their signage, implementation.
They roll out of their brand.
Roll
correct.
out of their brand. So anything from signage, stationery, all that kind of stuff. Like some of the stuff is just really, really good. But what we want to talk about today is the difference between online presence and sales that way versus traditional forms of sales, which Shane is just an absolute beast at, like total fucking beast at, compared to me, which I'm just, the guy on the internet just putting out content, So we want to trade notes here, and hopefully you guys are, listening to this or watching this or here on YouTube can get something out of this from the presence that, say, I have on an Instagram at least, and just the hustle game that Shane has out there on the streets, getting in front of businesses' faces and going, hey, how about it? So welcome, Shane. Thanks for having.
No worries, Frank.
Thanks for coming in. And let's start with how we first met. So.
Ooh. It's a juicy one, isn't it?
It's a fun one, though. I think that's the best thing about it is that, so I'd only just started G'day Frank, my design business, maybe 3 or 4 months before you first found me. And it was weird because there were a few days prior, I was getting like all these weird phone calls from like telemarketers and stuff because
okay,
I'd had my phone number online a bit, starting this new business, and was just getting like all and sundry, like charities and other people looking for, to sell me stuff. And I was just like, just so over it. And then this guy rings and goes,
Just randomly?
and just says, "G'day, Frank." And I was like, "G'day, mate. What's going on?" And he's like, "Just want to say, I've seen you online in this Facebook group. We were part of this same Facebook group. Just saw your stuff on here. Looked up your website. It's amazing." Oh. And that was the words to effect of what he said. And I was like, is this guy blowing smoke up my ass?
Nothing else to the call. It was just, hey, man, love what you're doing. Keep it up. See ya.
And that was it. And then I put the phone down going, what the fuck was that? Like, I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing or just what happened. It was just in a blur. And I'm going, fucking hell. Okay. Went out to my wife and said, some guy just called me. This is an Aussie guy. I didn't know if he was selling me something or he's going to call me back or what. But it was amazing. And then I found you on Facebook, sent you a message going, was that it? Like, and you're like, yeah, man, just what your stuff is awesome. I was like, dude, that is amazing. Like, what a legend.
Me being the kind of guy I am, I saw this guy, I thought, hey, love what he's doing. I'm just going to call him up and just say, hey, man, keep it up. Good stuff. And that was it.
I don't think I'll ever get something like that again. Like,
seriously.
It blew my mind in retrospect. At the time, I was like, what the hell is this? But in retrospect, looking back at it, it's just genuine. And I think that's what sums Shane up here. Is just a, soul of the earth kind of Aussie guy. And
very much so.
That's why I wanted to get him in here first, because I think we can have a really good chat about this stuff. And
it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do when you just make a phone call, isn't it?
Well, this is the part of the conversation is that sales is probably part of that, and you would know full
Absolutely.
well of that is to get on board there. But I can see you now starting Aspect Brands, your own business.
Yes.
And you're putting yourself out there online now. So you've got your Instagram account up and running now. It's getting a little bit of traction, which is great. You're putting up a lot of content, which is fantastic. But yeah, I think you're on the right track, but I think there might be maybe some things that you're not so sure about.
I'm still new. I'm still new in that online space.
So what's got your goat, or what's your plans with it? That's
I think to just almost give people looking at my business, whichever avenue they're on, whichever platform they're on, to find something that they can digest and help them understand more about me and what I do.
Yeah.
I think as, brand designers and brand implementation people, we are selling what it looks like. We are selling the experience. So if I don't have all my sort of
ducks in a row.
Yeah, if I don't have my ducks in a row, it's well, if their brand and their image is not together, then what value can they bring my business and its image?
That's kind of it. Yeah, if you can't do it yourself, how are you going to be able to do it for somebody else?
Exactly
and that's a huge point right there, is that and that's, I think, probably the biggest struggle for designers, and I've talked about this in some content already, is that we find so hard to be able to brand ourselves, and for whatever reason, the reason I think it comes down to is being able to detach yourself from it, obviously.
Correct.
But then at the same time, it's taking that pressure off to do it the same way you would do it for a client, in that you have to objectively look at things and just go, well, what's going to grab someone's attention first and foremost, and then what's going to then make you trust me, kind of thing. You could be selling snake oil or whatever, but you need to trust that goddamn person to be that person that wants to buy some snake oil. Not that you bloody would, but fuck.
The biggest objection people have is just, can they trust you? Really? Every business has a need, whether it be in design or whether it be in signage or merchandising, like you said. Yeah. All these businesses have a need, and in the end of the day, the people you're coming up against are your competitors in those markets. And it's like, if you put yourself out there and you become personable to that person, to that prospective client, there's a great likelihood that your competitor hasn't, because they don't think about these kind of things like we do as designers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the thing as well. I think a lot of designers might have, or not have, the blinkers on, in the respect of like having a horse with blinkers, so they look straight down to the finish line kind of thing, and not worry about the horses either side because they start getting skittish. I think that's exactly what happens with designers. Is we start looking left and right and going, why am like this person's doing this, but I'm not doing it, and like shit, like I should be doing this as well. If I don't do it, then I'm not going to get clients.
That happens so often.
But the thing is as well, like you see other people that have, I don't know, 30,000, 60,000 following, and you think they've got their shit together. They don't.
No.
And that's such a fallacy and such a way to get yourself down, that if you've only got 500,000 followers and you think you're not, successful because of that, say on Instagram at least, or, on YouTube, and you're just getting yourself down because people aren't following you. But at the end of the day, those people that are following, those people that have 60,000 following, they're all designers. They're not...
A lot of the time.
They're not customers. So that's what I find a bit interesting about the tactic that many designers go for, is to impress their fellow designer.
Their peers.
And I found that amazing, that when I started making, say, content for G'day Frank, was that it was always content geared towards a client.
Client-focused.
And I couldn't figure out why other designers weren't doing that, apart from just, sharing their work and everything like that. Where there's all this edutainment of how to be a better designer and everything like that, which I'm doing now, obviously, in G'day Design Life. But there's a purpose to that, though. I like that distinction, though. But if you're going to do that as your business, though, to sell to other businesses, so you're doing B2B kind of business there, is that how you want to go? Is create content that is geared towards other businesses?
I think we're all guilty of having a bit of tunnel vision,
Yeah.
If we're building a business and we're banking on one social media platform to develop a clientele and a basis for work moving forward, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot a bit.
Yeah.
There are so many. Yeah. There's so many different avenues, and don't get me wrong, social media is absolutely a massive, massive part of that, and that's also the social proof that your prospects then refer back to and say, okay, this guy's the real deal.
Yeah. And I've heard that a heap of times.
Absolutely.
Where people will just not even give you a second thought because you've got no presence, like online, or you've got a very little following, and like that client might even know not even know who the following is. Like they could just be paid.
Yeah.
They could be designers, not even the target market that your business is catering to. And the right people aren't listening. It's the wrong people that are listening effectively when it's in the eyes of the client. So it's kind of how do you position your business that way? And I think you're on the right track. I mean, I don't know if it's from seeing what I do or if someone else do, but I think it's the right way to go, surely, yeah?
Absolutely.
From a sales aspect, though, that makes the same sort of thing as well. So
what made me realise the importance of this avenue with going down the social media route, making sure that there's content there for people to digest is I had a few meetings with a few prospective clients, and they speak to me about their some previous design work they had done.
Yep.
And I was just listening into the conversation, and I was listening to what things mattered to the client. Like, oh, yeah, we paid $5,000 for this product packaging. Oh, the guy had 100,000 followers on social media. It's like, okay, and he
I trusted him with my life because he had 100K.
It's like this weird day and age we live in where people trust you and regard you as in a certain place in your business on the basis of pretty much off the back of the social media following you have. And it does work in a sense. I think they play off each other in a very particular way, which is interesting.
There's a few ways it could play out best for both. Like you see some designers that do have that big following and they get more attention obviously out of it.
Yes.
But what it does though, it becomes a mutually beneficial agreement with both client and designer, or if it's an Instagram influencer or something like that, where that client is looking for that influence or that size of email list or whatever it is to then get their message out further if it's a mutually agreeable, engagement.
Yes.
Which is so at the root of it, it's quite superficial. But in the same respect, though, that's just how celebrity works, really.
Pretty much.
But for you, though, I mean, to go back to what you're doing on a day-to-day, even before your social presence came to life.
Yes.
What is it that you would generally do day-to-day to get in the face of a client?
I would quite literally turn up to their premises, and I mean, because I do provide quite a wide variety of services, I would approach people and just begin to begin to chat, open dialogue. The kind of guy I am. I just I ring people up randomly, and I just sort of rock up and just strike up a conversation, and it would honestly amaze you how much further down the line you get just by showing up.
And fairly receptive, though?
Oh, a lot of the time. Like, what was it? Probably about 2 weeks ago, I approached this guy. I was just actually, I popped in at one of my suppliers, and I approached this guy next door. I noticed their building didn't have any signage.
Yeah, okay.
And I just approached this guy and said, "Hey, mate, you got no signs on your building. What's going on?" type of deal. And this guy's like, "Mate, what are you even doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, mate, I just popped my head in." He's like, "Mate, the timing could not be more perfect." He said, I had this, He's like, "I had Signorama scheduled to meet me yesterday, and they stood me up. They didn't show up." So he's like, "Mate, get a quote together.
Holy
job's yours."
shit.
And just probably 2 days ago, I just won that job. So,
dude, congrats.
just turning up.
That's
honestly, awesome. You don't know
timing. Just
it's timing. There's a lot of factors, and not a lot of them we have control of. But what we do have control of is just.
But showing up, though, that's the thing. That's it, is showing up.
So much of it is just showing up.
Yeah.
So if you don't show up, they don't know who you are.
Exactly.
The cost of not showing up is just too great.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've seen a guy do this on YouTube. He's a photographer down in Victoria, and he does it to prove a point for his YouTube channel. But I could imagine that's what he would do in general, because he's just, again, a hustler, and he just walks into cafes. Like, he went into 20 different cafes of a Saturday morning and just said, "Hey, man, can I see your manager or who is, your owner, or if they operate here? And just wondering if you wanted any, social media photos or anything for your business. This is my rate. It's a couple $100 for a couple of hours. I'll do the edit, turn it around for you by the end of the day, and you've got, 100 shots, man, or something like that."
It works, man.
And it did. And he was just like, that's how you do it. That if you're wondering how to find clients, get out there and do it. Like, it's not rocket science. I think that's the hard part. It's just It might be, I don't know.
It's like valuing the service you provide. So if you rock up to a business and say, hey, this is what I do, I'd like to do this for you,
Yep.
that saves them all the guesswork, looking online, trying to find someone to do this specific thing. Stand there, have a conversation with them, say, hey, this is what I can do. Here's some examples of work I've done before, whether it be social media content, whether it be logo work, branding, any type of assets that the business needs. And you might be doing them a massive favor. It's just about backing yourself, really.
Do you think it would be, I don't want to say it's too harsh to say, but if you can't do that as a business owner, then you shouldn't be a business owner?
Oh, I don't think, I wouldn't go as far as saying you shouldn't. We all have our strengths that we need to play to.
For sure.
And I mean, even this format of just walking out into the world and approaching people, it works for some, won't work for everyone.
Yeah.
And you just have to find your strengths and double down on them. So maybe, I've heard that many businesses successfully pitching in IG DMs or
That's
IG
how
DMs or phone calls.
Yeah.
Or phone calls. But in the end of the day, if you can look back on the week that's just passed and say, okay, I haven't approached anyone this week, how do you expect to get any clients?
And that's what I hear, Gary Vee talk about, is that I think it's like the $1.80 strategy, where it's just like leave your 2 cents on, 20 to 100 people's, I think it's like 100 people's bits of content.
Okay.
Being business owners,
Yep.
the idea is there that you just, especially if it's an account, especially if it's an account that has a very small level of engagement, and they're like, someone's commented on my stuff.
They notice.
Even if it's from like a few months ago, they're like, someone liked my stuff, and you're like quite into it and engaging about what they like, what they put up. And that gets noticed, and then they might then follow you. If you follow them and they follow you, that's just how it kind of works on Instagram.
And then you begin to develop this online relationship, much as you have with people and I have with people.
Exactly.
And whether it be designers or businesses, whatever it might be.
And that's it. And that's the long game, I think, that a lot of new designers or new to sort of maybe Instagram or Twitter or Facebook is that you go for the sell like immediately. I think that might be the difference between in person and then online, is that you kind of need to, people have their backs up, and because, we're all hiding behind a keyboard kind of thing, there's a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, but it's just that a bit more
There's a bit of a guard
resistance.
up. Yeah, there's a bit of a wall up that you need to push through.
Exactly. And I think that's where that human to human kind of connection needs to come in, where you need to be a person and just say, hey, how you going? Really loved your stuff.
Well, this is why in DMs video.
Oh god, yeah.
That is just the next
that's
level.
The new walking into a shop front.
It really is, because I mean, at the end of the day, you send someone a message, cold message. The only issue that people have, like, they can go to your profile and see all the awesome work you're doing.
Yep.
The only issue is they don't know you. They got no idea if you're going to, drop the ball or what have you. Whereas if you are dropping them a video or meeting them with a person, I would probably say if you're doing a cold message or something like that, I don't think the goal would be a sale, but more so maybe an in-person meetup if it's someone in your area.
Love it.
Or maybe just a video call, just so they can get to know you. Because in the end of the day, the only issue they have is that they don't know who you are. It's a cold message. It's a cold phone call.
And that's something I've not done with a client, a potential client, let's say, or a business where I've gone for the sale yet. Like, I've been doing Instagram, let's say, only since March.
Yes, about March, I think it was,
And I'm playing like the serious long game here. Like, I'm at there's 9 innings of it, and I'm at 2. I've got a long way to
I'm
go.
only a month into myself.
Yeah.
Only about a month.
But what I mean is the 9 innings to get to a sale, like saying, hey,
of course,
what do you think? And you find that opportunity and that timing that kind of works, where you see, that business doing something in particular, and you go, hey, I've seen this done, or I've done this before for someone else. Is this something you might need help with? If not, that's totally fine or whatever. But you've built that kind of rapport. You've liked their stuff, or you've commented and engaged with their stuff, and shown a bit of genuine interest in their business. And then you wait for that time, instead of just like going, I think your logo sucks. Do you want a new logo?
Oh,
I can do it for you.
How tempting is it to just you rock up on a page and it's just like, hey guys.
This was the interesting thing. Like, there's a business up here where I live, where I see them like every time I go out driving. I see the business. I'm like, I would love to rebrand your business, but And I was like, I wrote up and like, it felt like a total like Russell Crowe out of A Beautiful Mind, where I was like writing all these notes and everything like this, and going, how could I, find the right tack to get.
I'll tell you one of mine in a sec.
Oh, and it was just lunacy to the point where a few months passed, and my wife said, "Do you think you'd still go after him?" I was like, "No." No, not a chance, because it just doesn't seem right. They have no idea who I am, and I'd knock on the door and they go, it could be one of those things where someone in their family designed it and they think it's really good, and you go, well, that's just going to set the tone for that relationship right there, and you're out the door and you're not even in at all. There's no relationship.
I'll tell you a little cheeky signage tactic.
Okay.
If you rock up to a business, you see their business, their signage, this and that. Something I've used a few times, it's worked. Sometimes it hasn't, but. Is saying how the sign is becoming a bit weathered. And how, hey, it might be time to get a new sign put up. And then once you're having that conversation, it's like, hey, maybe you might be interested in doing a rebrand also, refreshing your business.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky.
Hey, designers, you know what you need to do this week is go look for some really average weathered signage and just go, Shane sent you.
Hey guys, the UV laminate's expired on the sign. It's starting to get sunspots. I think we need a new sign.
That bulb's flickering a little bit, I think. Just a little bit.
Oh, there's too many signs out there, man. With the, it's just.
I like it. I mean, at the core of it, though, it's finding that in. I think that's the point. I think that's the point. Is just to
find your way into the house before you raid the fridge.
I like that. That's a good one. I've never heard that one. I like it. So, and this is. Just in terms of putting yourself out there, though, I mean, are you doing anything that you find possibly unique or your own style of door knocking or cold calling or anything like that?
Well, to be honest, nothing I'm doing is really reinventing the book. To be honest, I don't even do a lot of selling.
Yeah, okay.
I don't need to sell, because if I approach a business that has a need, and if I'm talking to them and I find out, okay, they don't have this need, and I'll jump to something else, whether it be I'm talking to them about signage and they don't have a need, I'll jump to merchandise. Don't have a need, I'll jump to maybe various things. I guess
and so you just asking,
diversify.
You just simply
I'm just having
asking and just
not even salesy, not even anything like that. Just having a conversation. But I think that with the new wave of businesses, people aren't getting out there at all. So. Yeah. If think about this, okay, you or your fellow designers, if you get out there into the world and offer design services, how many businesses out there do not have a designer set up per se? They've done tidbits here and there.
There'd be thousands, like in Sydney alone. There
absolutely.
Would be.
So think of just fellow designers. The kind of people that designers are. I'm a salesperson.
Yep.
First and foremost, but I guess the kind of demeanor you get as a designer is not so much a go out and door knocking kind of people. We're pretty reserved type people who are
fairly introverted.
Yeah, fairly introverted. So if you go out there and offer design services, door knocking, business to business, it's a pretty high likelihood that in your area there's no other designers doing that.
Yeah.
And for the business owner who's too busy to stop and look online and find a designer, hey, here's a solution. They've just walked in my door.
The opportunity presented themselves, massive, and they would call it fate, and they'd be just like, hallelujah.
Exactly right. And it happens so often, man. It really does.
That there wouldn't be that many doing it, so that as you said, your likelihood is far greater, because you're not going to have the traveling designer salesperson doing it. They're going to be the person that might email, like it'd be the person that email. That's what designers like. Let's face it, as designers, we're sending emails and we're just going, "Oh hi, I liked your business. By the way, do you need a new logo?" And then you just get straight to it.
And if you rock up and you talk to someone, and within the first 30 seconds, if they decide that they like you, see you later. Everyone who's thrown an email, doesn't matter at all.
It trumps.
You just you're getting ahead of the curve, really.
I mean, even picking up the phone really would do
absolutely.
Do it more than an email, but
absolutely,
it'd be like breaking up with a text message. The hit rate would. Do you think the hit rate would be fairly high in your experience? So is it like a 1 in 10 kind of thing?
Look, in the end of the day, okay, you walk into a business, they say they're not interested right now at all, whatever it is. You pull a business card off them, okay? In a month's time, you send them an email. Hey, here's a rebrand I did for another business in the area.
I'm clapping right now.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, I am clapping. That's it.
And they're qualified leads. If you've walked into the place, you obviously know that the logo is crap and their brand is just falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
So you pull a business card, you take down a phone number, take down an email, details, whatever it is, and then play the long game, like you're saying.
You call back.
Yeah, you call back and say, hey,
Sure.
we spoke, you might recall, we spoke a month ago.
Yep.
Hey, here's something I've been working on. I'd love to do something similar for you.
Love it. And I've got a mate that does that. He goes, like, he's seriously out there. Like, he gets into, like, Amazon and Tesla and Uber and just...
Not
goes,
your walk-in time.
No.
That's not another level
But he gets in there and you're like, dude, that's awesome. How? It goes, just walk in and say hi. And I'm like, that's it. Because we're all scared of doing it. I think that's the big thing. He just goes in there. He's like, he does video work, like really fucking good video work. And he just shows them their phone and goes, oh, I've been doing this. Would this be something you'd be interested in having that for your store or online or something for your social media you're next, looking to do? And I'm just like, that's it? And he goes, mate, that's it. Like he said, he walked into a Tesla dealer and shout out Dave if you're listening to this.
Go hard, Dave. Love it.
He walked into a Tesla dealer, and I know the one because I used to work near it, and they have up on the screen their ads that play loop on a loop. And it's about the car, doing its thing and everything.
Buy Tesla.
Yeah, and he walked up to the manager of the dealer and just said, if I can name you shot for shot of what happens next, will you consider any future video work with me?
Ooh, I like that.
I'll show you my reel and everything, my phone and everything, but I can call shot for shot. And he did, and the dealer was like, holy shit.
You know what's up.
You nailed that. And he plays the long game from there on. I don't know if anything came of it.
Is it because the content was just so textbook type stuff?
Not textbook, no. He just knew it.
Okay, yeah.
He knew it back to front. He was so engaged with their brand that he knew he'd been into dealerships just to check out the car. To be honest, he loves Tesla. I mean,
did he get
Tesla.
one?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Damn.
I don't think so.
Got to get that Tesla.
Dave, get that Tesla. I want to drive. But just doing that, like, to show that level of interest in that person's business, even Tesla's, obviously a big ass company, but just for that particular dealer, I like that. I mean, just to call back, like get that business card, get that details, and then go back and back and back, and that's the thing. I've been reading a lot of things of late where it's like no doesn't always mean no.
It's just kick the can down the road, go again later.
Exactly.
And I think people are concerned, whether it be a cold, walking up, a cold walk up, or cold email, phone call, whatever it is. People are, we're naturally afraid of rejection, right?
Yeah.
But if you get rejected 3, 4, 5, 20 times, is it not worth that one time that someone says, you know what, hell yeah,
especially
let's go.
if you've got nothing coming in and you're like you're the poor designer that's going, why me, why this? I'm seeing all these people that are getting like all these amazing clients and stuff that are international brands and all of this, and I'm getting like the corner pie shop every 6 months. And you're just thinking, why am I not getting? I'm getting like all. This is the thing as well. If you've got a really good social media presence, that's like possibly a tiny part of it in the grand scheme of things. If no client is finding you, you can be putting out all this great content, but if you're not engaging, getting out there both on social and in person, you're missing out on that opportunity to do that. And then you're thinking, well, why is no one calling me? It's like, you got to call them. Like, people aren't going to find you because there are thousands of you, for starters. There are bigger agencies than you that are perceived as better quality. But when you've got businesses that, especially in Australia, where like 90 to 95% of businesses in Australia are small businesses, there are thousands.
Is it 95% small business?
It's like up there, 90, 95 or 92 or something like that. It's ridiculous. I saw Mark Boris talk about it. And I was just like, holy shit. But there's just a crazy amount of opportunity that we're not seeing as designers, in that obviously the big agencies are going to be the ones that are going to be playing with the big playing brands out
Big
there.
business, yeah.
But for us, like, there's just this in Australia especially. But I would imagine it would be the same anywhere around the world, in that there's so few designers compared to how many businesses there are, and businesses that don't even explore anything past doing a Word document logo, or finding,
say that a lot.
finding on Fiverr or anything like that. I mean, if you want to position yourself as a high value, designer, you've got to be putting yourself out there to show that you are that high value kind of designer. But yeah, it's something that you just have. You could be going into 1,000 different businesses and not even have any competition of any other designer that's ever walked into those businesses before.
How many designers do you know that walk the streets picking up clients like that?
0, apart from, actually no, one. This guy.
Just me.
That's it. I mean, maybe a couple, but
yeah. But still, you think about that.
Few and far between, I would
Honestly,
imagine.
there's very few industries nowadays that actually invest in that type of salesperson.
For sure.
Yeah, so the kind of traveling salespeople that you see going around these days are like door knocking solar panel people.
Yeah.
Like,
now everyone's just relying on social media marketing.
Too reliant, almost. Way too reliant, because there's a whole realm of businesses that aren't even into that space yet, and they're out there and they don't know you exist because they're not on this platform that you're so heavily banking on. So why don't we look at it in a different way and just get out there in the world?
The thing I'm thinking about is that you don't need that many clients in a year to be a sustainable business.
Absolutely not.
Like, you might not even need more than 5 to 10. I don't think I work with more than 5 to 10 in a year so far, because it covers what you need it to cover. Like,
exactly right.
It's not that much. You don't need to be having hundreds and hundreds of clients. The most the most amazing person I've heard said, well, it wasn't amazing, but it was kind of like, oh no. She said she did 300 logos in a year.
Oh, no thanks.
And I was just like, and this was off the back of a Facebook post that someone said, oh, how many how many logos have you done in a year? And everyone was going like, 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe there might have been a 50 to 100 person
300
logo. And I was just like, cool, yeah, that's fair enough. I did 3. And then this girl says 300, and it just like floored the whole group. I'm like, 300? Holy moly, you must be rolling it, kind of thing, thinking like what we would charge it. Like, for myself, if I charged for 3 to 5 clients, it would be, payday. If I'm getting 300, I'm like tearing through 300, because I know I couldn't do 300 myself. I would be like outsourcing it to other designers to get all
do
that stuff.
300 in 5 years.
I think I did like something like 600 identities in TV production when I was working.
600 across the entire time?
For over 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah. So it was roughly like, it was like 70 to 80 a year or something like that.
Not bad.
And they weren't to the scale that you have as a brand
course.
identity, that kind of thing. They were very short and sweet kind of things.
A pitch logo.
Pitch kind of stuff, yeah. But 300, we were just like, holy moly. And
what was the price point?
Well, everyone jumped on that and said, just discreet the kind of thing. How much are you charging for your logos? And she was like, like $50 to $100. And we're like, okay, so you only made like 30 grand. Okay, well, I mean, that sustains your life, but were you absolutely slammed? Obviously, it's 300 logos. You'd be absolutely necking it. Like, that's 300 logos for 300
logo
businesses?
a day for 10 months, man.
That's pretty much it. That's
on the weekends too?
You'd have to be. Or you'd be doing like 2 or 3 a day kind of thing without weekends. And we sort of said, okay, so if you're only charging that much, what would happen if you tripled your price and you only had to do 100 in a year? Well, you could keep doing it, 300. You really can turn it out. But what if you tripled your price right now? What would happen? She goes, I would lose a third of my clients if I charge more. And I was like, but you'd be making the same amount.
Same amount.
And
with a third less of the workload.
And this is probably a lacking of possibly business sense. And I'm not criticizing the girl. She was a very hard worker. No,
Sounds like it, man.
Hats off to her.
300.
It would break me 300 logos for $100, and
That's my career.
And that's not to sound pretentious either. I think it's just the reality of
to give it the attention,
yeah.
to give each logo and each identity the attention it deserves.
Exactly. But we're getting way off topic there. Shane, do you think there's anything of your sales experience that translates into an online space of marketing yourself as a designer that potentially as designers we're typically not exploring or thinking about or taking as much advantage of?
Absolutely.
Possibly like LinkedIn or something like that. Or
yeah, I think that a lot of designers expect that their prospects are just in the space that they're in, when that's not always the case. Obviously, LinkedIn's a really good one. LinkedIn is just, quite frankly, it's just all business people, all the kind of people who have a career and they obviously regard their career as a really big part of their life.
And their connections
networking
as well.
And their connections, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that to get into LinkedIn is a really great opportunity for designers. There's probably not a lot of designers in the LinkedIn
Not that I could
space.
see. The ones that do, though, and this is the amazing part, the ones that have started now and do it fairly consistently, the same that they would do on Instagram, the traction on there is far beyond what you see a normal bit of content that Joe Blow would put up that's not a designer. I see, and they start trending. Like, I get notifications of mates of mine that are designers that are trending with their logo topic. I'm like, holy moly, that's awesome. And it gains that traction because at the end of the day, what LinkedIn does organically is that if a business owner likes your post, it then gets seen by all their connections potentially, or a large percentage of them, I think, at least. And it's just this undervalued attention which you don't get on platforms like Twitter or you kind of do, I think, on Twitter a bit.
And then people
Instagram
tack on,
especially.
if this person that likes your post is someone they respect and someone they think
True.
does business well, then they why is he liking this post? What value is there to gain?
No, very true, very true.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one thing that, if you're making connections with people, the same one in Instagram as well, you're doing it on LinkedIn. And I think the tricky thing is that I think probably we all get put off on LinkedIn is that people can see when you view that person's profile.
It's so weird.
You can't see that on Instagram.
So
you can just be like this silent little person researching every business under the sun. But I mean that's just LinkedIn there. But
well, I think it's important to, as designers, position ourselves in spaces that doesn't have many designers. In a previous life, I did sales for a medical fit-out company.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and going through the job, doing my research, I found there was this GP Expo that we could potentially attend.
Yep.
Medical fit-out company, GP Expo, a lot of business owners, a lot of doctors, a lot of people working in practice.
Yep.
And I looked at the floor plan on this at this expo, and there was no medical fit-out people exhibitioning at all. Okay, so it's like, all right,
gap in the
this
market.
is a massive gap. And we signed up. We're the only person on the day showing that type of service, and the prospects were just out the arse. It was crazy. Such massive, like like an expo. Expos are expensive. Like, I think the outlay for the expo was something like $8,000 just for the space, and then to fully fit it out.
I was going to say more than that as well.
Yeah.
No, like 20 Gs or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But obviously fit out work, it's a really high ticket item.
Yep.
A fit out can cost anywhere between $500,000 to $2 million for a fit out. And we walked away that day. I remember just busting my ass that day. 12-hour days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think we walked away with something like 25 prospects that were building in 6 months, and then another 20 that were beyond 6 months building. So, I mean, in the end of the day, we turned up.
Return on investment.
Yeah. We just turned up.
Yep.
We filled the gap in the market, and I think that LinkedIn is a massive space for designers right now. In that, there's not many there.
You could do the same thing that trade show thing. I mean, it's some legwork, the same as door-to-door sales kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you've got everybody under one roof. Everyone's there to show what they do, and then you could go, I really like what you do. If it's all show and
tell.
tell.
It's like 40 birds with one stone.
And that's it. Like you could walk into some expo for, I don't know, boat sales or something like that, or home reno stuff or whatever. Or if Australia legalizes cannabis, you could go to all these cannabis vendors, which I know happens in the States and the UK. And like, that's my little thing. Like as soon as that happens in Australia, I'm like in those places going, guys, I like your product. I like the whole idea of it and everything like that. I just know that you are exactly the same product. That's it. At the end of the day, you have marijuana. That's it. And let's try and do something different.
The only thing you can do really is
smoke it or ingest it or.
But how they present their product,
and that's it. Exactly.
That's the only. Yeah. It's the only thing they have control over, really.
Yeah. Okay, that's going on a whole nother tangent there. What? Do you think there's something that we're missing, like just that you're kind of going, why is no one doing this?
Yes, there is. And I think that designing, we're just so involved in the process of how it looks. I think we need to be more invested in what the client actually gets out of it.
True.
So if they have, so in the end of the day, a lot of businesses, if they're coming to you for a rebrand, they want to build more awareness about their business to generate more sales, really. The end goal for most of these businesses is sales. So how are you accommodating those needs? How are you solving that problem? I think that we as designers get so caught up in the process of making something pretty.
Yeah, the aesthetics.
Yeah. It's like, okay, when they go and apply that in the real world, how is that going to help them convert? How is it going to help that business reach more people and do what they do?
Like it might not necessarily do so, but if you can give a roadmap that shows what, especially if you do branding, let's say, because that's what I do, that's what I know best, is that if you show and present this is the problem that you have, and it might be awareness of your brand, and you're sitting between a shop front of all these different other cafes, and you're a cafe yourself, and there's one on the corner, one at the other corner, and then one across the road, and your business isn't doing well, but the other three are doing fantastically well. There's a problem there. How do you go about doing that? You wouldn't go, oh, I think your logo needs a rebrand just because it's a bit complicated. How about it? You'd be looking at what's around and saying, well, these guys are doing spectacularly well. How's business going for you? It must be going just as well. And they go, nah, we're getting like nobody in here. Like you're asking those questions, and then you sort of thinking, well, why do you think that is? And they go, well, we've been here for a while now. We've not really updated things and all this kind of stuff. And it might just be costing us sales and getting people in the door because they don't not find this appealing. I say, well,
the coffee's just as good as all the others. The service is, the customer service is just as good. But we got to understand the world we live in. We live in a world where how it looks matters almost more than, people will eat a burger that doesn't taste as good as a burger that looks like crap. Because they want that Instagram photo. They want to create this perception around who they are as a person and the brands that they're aligning themselves with. When they rock up in the coffee shop,
Yeah.
How many times have you seen a photo of a coffee that has a nice branded cup? Boom.
In the right way.
Or
the Neil Perry Burger Project burger, where you get like the best burger from this corner street store that's just like will change your life.
But people almost don't even care. I mean, some people do.
Yeah.
But I'm guilty of. I'll walk down a street and I'll see a coffee shop and I'll look at. I mean, maybe it's because of the industry I'm in, but I'll look at the sign and be like, okay, the sign's hanging off the awning.
Ultra critical.
Yeah, I'm a bit. I mean, you're in the industry. You always look at these things. But 9 times out of 10, I'll walk into the place that is better presented than the place that's probably got a better rating on.
Yeah, no, very true.
Yeah.
And then that probably is, again, a very similar aspect to the way you have to present yourself too. Like if you're
100%.
If you're comparing yourself, which I don't think as designers we should be comparing ourselves to others, but we should be learning from others. I think that's a better way of looking at it, is that if you don't think you're up to snuff and you see someone that you think is absolutely killing it, and you realize, what is it that you could be doing better to present yourself in a better light that would make you feel like you're doing the right thing, kind of do it kind of thing, and present yourself in the way that you would hope a client would see as someone that is trustworthy, knows what they're doing, knows what they're about, can relate to, can build that connection with. And I think that's why you have to kind of try different things and not just follow what someone else is doing.
It's so important to be genuine and to be yourself.
And unique in a way that is just you. Like, I get in front of a camera and be a total fucking idiot, and it's just fun because I enjoy it. It might not get a sale, but it shows.
But if people can see, if people can relate to you, the likelihood is they will feel that you will relate to them, empathise with their situation, their needs, the business.
That's very true.
So I think that if we're genuine in how we portray ourselves, how we brand ourselves, we're going to attract the kind of people we want to attract.
Yeah, and it goes if you're an illustrator, if you are a UX, UI kind of person, you got to be tailoring the message, the look, the feel, everything about what you're doing to that particular kind of customer that's looking for that type of product.
Absolutely.
I mean, branding is one of those things now that's just everybody needs branding kind of thing. Every business needs a brand of some kind because we're coming into an age where you just get left behind without it. But for these little more niche kind of aspects of presenting yourself in a stylized way through illustration, or if it's creating apps and web experiences and interactive digital experiences like that a UI UX person would take wholehearted advantage of, it's a very, very niche thing to do in Australia. But presenting yourself that way to make it look like you're the least risky option, you don't have to be the best option. I think that's what we're all we all need to look perfect, and we all need to have our shit together and all this kind of stuff, which half of us obviously don't have our shit together, even though we've got a big ass following and all that kind of thing. But to realize that we just need to present ourselves in the best way we can, that we feel like a customer could or a client could, as you say, best connect and relate to. That's all that's necessary. I think we start overthinking it, because it's like what you do with sales is you get out there, you just show your face and say, hi, how you going? And it's simple as that. It would be less time consuming doing that than having to brand yourself and put out all this content and everything daily to massage, a client into, trusting you and things like that, which you just get in front of them and then you go, someone can really read you in 2 seconds.
This whole human to human emphasis these days. But I think as well, something that I'm guilty of, and I'm sure a lot of designers are guilty of, is just scrutinizing yourself and the content that you put out.
Yeah.
I think to a point, you have to structure what you're doing. You have to brand yourself a certain way that's true to your own values and to, I guess, the kind of clientele you wanted to pull in. But it was to a point where I was just so critical of my own content that I wasn't putting anything out. And it's important not to make that mistake either, because you have to be out there.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You just got to do it. And
you've got to do it.
Yeah.
Just have to do it.
Like, live by Nike's rule. Just do it, man.
Just do it.
And TM. I see a lot of designers that don't have anything on their profile, or if they do, it's just work, which having just your work is fine. There's nothing wrong with having your work. Present your best work, obviously, though. And your best work is obviously subjective to what you see it as. It doesn't matter what another designer sees it as. What matters is if a client sees that it's good for them.
Absolutely.
And if they can align, they see what you've done for someone else that's in a similar line of business, or they like the look of what that you did for that dental company, but they're a real estate company, and they like that aesthetic of what you've done. It easily translates across, and I think that's just what we're kind of possibly losing sight of. Is it's just it's not too hard to position yourself in a way that helps that client see. You don't have to convince a client. That's not the idea. It's just to show a client what you can do, and if it's the right solution for them, they go, oh, I need someone that does the logo. That person looks good.
In the end of the day, I don't think that it's even worth a prospect's time to dive down that rabbit hole and think. Some people do, don't get me wrong, but a business is not going to dive down a rabbit hole and think, oh, pros and cons. They have a problem that they need solved now. Yeah. And for them to deliberate over 20 different designers over 5, 6, 7 weeks, it's
like
time
hiring
is money.
Someone.
It is. And they need actionable. They need things to just happen. They need things to happen. Yep. Their time is valuable, which is why I've found that approaching businesses and striking up these conversations is valuable to them, because if I turn up and they're like, hey, I need a quote for this, I give them the quote. They don't have to go looking around online and trying to find someone and trying to, if you turn up, that it gets you ways down the road. It really does.
Yeah. No,
and something else that I was wanting to chat about with you is how we position our businesses on social media as well. Obviously, you are very much the mascot of G'day Frank.
Yeah, you need to be. I realised that very early on.
Yeah, so it's something that I'm sort of, this is something that I'm sort of learning, because I've still kept my own persona back from the face of the business.
Sure.
Because I want to portray my business more as a, I don't know, not so much as just
entity.
Me. As an entity, rather than just, hey, this is Shane.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. What are your
my thoughts on that?
Because
I was of the same opinion when I started.
Yeah.
I have a mixed opinion about it, because you can go both ways.
Yes.
You can do that whole route and become an entity, because and as long as you play the focus that it is all about
not I.
That too, but it's about the customer, not you.
Correct.
So they don't need to realistically know everything about you. They just want to know that you can do the job. What I would say to that though is still put a face to the name, so that when that person sees you, have them see you. Like, they want to know who they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. Not some wear this big thing and it's just like you're sitting in a room by yourself. Like, we've all seen that meme of that old bloke and it's just like, meet my team, and there's like 5 of this old bloke's head just with a cup of coffee kind of thing.
Well, it's perception, isn't it? Because if I'm out speaking to someone, I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to be dealing with you in accounts, design, sales.
Exactly.
I'm not project management. Like, I mean, to some businesses that would work
for sure.
But I guess with my type of business, I am portraying myself as I am as the salesperson and a designer.
Yep.
But I'm nameless in accounts. I'm nameless in a few different ways.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that if you're I would put it akin to Apple. No one knows who works for Apple apart from Steve Jobs, but he's dead. But when he was alive, that's who Apple was Steve Jobs. The same as, the Colonel for KFC when he was.
And they do still very much exist on their own.
Correct. And they had their own presence, their own identity. It would be very much the same as Christo in the future, to put it in the design realm. But for me, my realization was that if I'm going to be the face of it, I'm going to be the one that picks up the call every single time and writes back to the emails, apart from some of the account stuff that my wife does. I'm going to need to be the face. If you're going to do this whole social thing, I feel like it needs to be social. It needs to have a personality.
Very good point.
And that's why I got in front of the camera to do this stuff. It was fucking awkward to do at the start, but 6 months later, I'm doing whatever I can to just get the job done, kind of thing, and not worrying about what I look like, what I sound like, because there's several things about myself that obviously I'm probably not going to be happy with, just the same as every person generally is. Yeah. But you just do it because that's how you feel like you're going to make a connection with somebody, to make them feel, easy about working with you, and eliminate that friction. So that's how I kind of see about online presence. It would be the same as, at the end of the day, if you're going to be the one that's going out there, hi, I'm Shane from Aspect Brands, and you're saying I'm part of this team, and it's like, oh, who else is in your team? Then you're like, oh,
me, myself, and I.
Let me talk about Barry, and there's
Steve.
There's Sean, and there's Shane, and there's Shanae.
Shanae will be in touch with you regarding your account.
Shanae will be there.
Hello.
Good old Shanae. Hello, Aspect Brands.
Hello.
Oh, if only.
No, you like, in that sense, I definitely am not. I'm not like blatantly lying to the client, but if
you want to seem larger than you are.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so for instance, on my business card, it's not like CEO, creative director,
I refuse to put CEO on my
founding partner.
Stuff.
Mine's just brand specialist.
Yep.
I want to hand my card. I don't want them to know that they're talking to the owner of the business, because maybe there'll be a a lack of confidence in my ability to even do the work, even though I've got a great network of teams set up. You know, different suppliers, different install teams, things like this.
Yeah, you got it covered in that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, how we portray ourselves to our prospective clients is all we have, really.
True. And I think it's subjective. I'm not going to say one way is better than the other. It's what works for that business. What I would say, though, is to hide behind your brand's logo, no matter what size your business is.
Okay.
I think you still need to show at least who they might be dealing with in general. I mean, with the production company that I used to work for, we had the top level management on their website.
Okay.
And I think that just puts a face to the name, because they're the people that a network would be interacting with at that production company. Same with me. I don't have my face on the homepage. I have it on the about page. It shows at least, you know, what I look like, and maybe a bit of my personality, because I'm holding like a stormtrooper helmet above my head. And the second
How pumped are you for the new Star Wars?
Oh, let's not get into that, because we'll be here forever. But just putting yourself out there in a way that is genuine and shows just even a sliver of who you are, but also your team. Like if you do have a team though, and you're like a 2-person team, and you show that to give a voice to, or a face to that name of who you are as that business.
Absolutely.
I think that's where you got to go with it.
Most businesses, though, to not overcomplicate things, most businesses generally would like to just deal with one person anyway. Like true. I know you. We've had a discussion. Yeah. I'm the point guy. I'm the account manager. Whichever way you want to spin it.
Exactly.
A lot of businesses, they don't want to. I mean, if you're offering this service, like a service that I offer, you know, to do all these different things, one of the things that I offer is, hey, give me a call. I can do any one of these modes of implementation you need. You don't have to call Steve, the sign guy, Barry, the merchandiser, Dave, the uniforms guy, Sam, the printer. You can just call me up. I've got you covered. And that is value to the client as well.
It's what is going to keep you top of mind.
Absolutely.
In that client's mind, either, you know, in face-to-face, on the phone, on an email, on your Instagram story, to see that face over and over, or that logo icon.
Something I definitely I'm starting to, I guess, reconsider about my online presence. Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. You just see what happens. But look, I think we're going to wrap it up there, Shane, because I think we've really gone. I'm going to try. I need to keep this under 60 minutes so we can have this on IGTV. But thanks so much, dude, for coming on. This was an awesome chat to start things off. I think it was very personal, which I think that's what I love about you. You keep it real. So this was 2 Red Chairs by G'day Design Life. By me, Frank. Next episode, I'm looking to have somebody else on here to talk about what's going on in your design life. If you want to get in touch, flick me a message on Instagram or flick me an email, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Cheers.